I had a interesting experience yesterday, and it's one of those moments where you have to just sit in your car and stare out the window, not driving anywhere, but just sit there for a moment and manically chuckle. Manically. Because when you say something, because you have started believing something and you've decided on something, people, experiences will try to remind you where you were, to really test if you're really about it. People will give you the highest praise, the biggest kudos, the slaps on the backs, the you're an amazing whatever, you're a great blah blah blah, you've made such leaps and bounds, ... etc. speech to you. When you stop caring, the moment you stop caring is when the floodgates of compliments, the floodgates of support, the floodgates of noticing you begins. It happens so often in so many iterations, and you have observed this many of times in other people's lives, and you probably have noticed it in your own life, that this is just a universal law. When you stop caring, you actually start receiving all the things you were yearning for. That within itself is the sick joke. And that's what I was manically laughing or manically chuckling to myself before I drove away. Because I was like, this cannot be how it always is. I don't like the feeling, just as you listening probably don't like the feeling. Because you also have a very strong sense of personal identity and a very strong sense of personal trajectory. And you want to do things right. You want to do things correctly. You want to cross your T's and dot your I's. You want to be a team player. You want to show up. You want to be nice. Right? But you keep being placed in these situations that call you to be nasty, call you to be cold, call you to be vindictive, call you to be nonchalant, call you to be whatever. But you prepared yourself to be nice. You showed up nicely. You showed up willing to learn, willing to ask questions, willing to integrate yourself into whatever the process is, willing to show up, and yet you were berated, you were pushed aside, and you were told that's not what we want. And you went home, you cried about it, you bemoaned it, you screamed in the shower, probably silently punching the air, and you let this feeling marinate for so long that when you decided to not care, it wasn't a split-second decision. It was a thoughtful, practice, well-designed, focused decision where you said, I'm deciding to remove, to withhold, to set a boundary, a line in the sand that is very clear for myself, to not become emotionally invested in this, to fall back into what I know to be true, which is you cannot rely on emotional people. You only can rely upon yourself. To understand that these situations are only making you better. They suck in the moment. You don't want them to happen, but here they are. And you get to redirect, refocus your mental, emotional, spiritual well-being back onto yourself. And that requires removing, detaching, setting aside what you were anticipating as a good thing, a positive thing, a nice thing. And when you make that decision for yourself, when you stop caring so much because you've processed, you emotionally manifested through it, and you come to a clear and resolute decision that I don't care. And you believe it, you think it, you start saying it out loud to anyone. I don't care. I'm okay. I'm fine. Right? You still have a smaller, almost like an inner child part of you that's kind of sad, because it's kind of like, wow, did they really just like tamper your fire? Did they really just snuff out your passion? And you, the adult, you who is experiencing it, has to remind yourself, this is just what it is now. It might not be this forever. I might not be a cold, emotionless person forever. This is just what it is now. And this is what the defense mechanism is, to detach, to move along. And then just when you have made this a new normal, a new understanding, you just show up, you do it, you go home. What starts pouring in? Whispers from the other side. Compliments. Noticing. Progress from other people's point of view. Support. Wow, you're doing amazing. People want what they want. And you are just more powerful enough to shapeshift into multiple ones. You can be the doting significant other, the most amazing team player at work, the listening ear to a friend, the amazing child to so-so parents. You can do all the things that you want to do, and you can fit whatever box and mold. And the reality is that people don't want your expectations for yourself. People don't want your self-trajectory for yourself. People don't even want the honest you to show up. People want what they want to show up. And they're just louder, more emotional, more unhinged to say it with their chest what they want. You and I are taught respectability politics. You and I are taught how to say something so not to hurt the other person's feeling, while other people that you're dealing with are not taught that. They are taught to say what you want, mean what you say, cry sad, who cares, say what you want, and make sure you get what you want. That's what they are taught. And the reason why you keep feeling invalidated, you are quote unquote not heard, you are not seen, is because you are expecting people who can't even count to 10 to see you. You're expecting people who get hangry as a concept, that whenever they do not have food in their bellies, they act out of emotions. Hangry. You're expecting them to see your value. You're expecting people who don't even know how to wash their face, take a shower, take care of their oral hygiene, get ready for the day, comb or brush their hair, to see your value. You are seeking and expecting the validation from others who don't even validate themselves. That's why they projectile vomit all of their wishes and desires and triggers onto anyone who even tells them, "How are you doing?" So you, to get this point across to yourself, have now had to detach. You've learned and relearned and remastered the art of detachment. And that's when everyone shows up to be on your side. That's when you hear the praise from the mountaintops. That's when you hear the words of encouragement, improvement, when you stop caring. It's a universal law at this point, the art of detachment. But the deeper point of this, other than the universal joke on you and me, is that once you detach, you are fundamentally and cellularly not in frequency with whatever that thing is anymore. To put it so clearly, you do not actually care, right? The art of detachment is stop caring. But the deeper part is you detached to a point, to an objective truth, that you actually don't care anymore. You actually don't see it through. You actually have no feelings towards it sinking or swimming, towards the company, the team, your friends, your family. You don't care anymore. Actually, as a core belief, this no longer serves any purpose to see any of it through. And that is the point that I want to highlight to you. Because people are like, oh, art of detachment, so you can get what you want, so that once they get what they want, they can then reattach. Which you fundamentally did not learn. You practiced, but you did not truly learn the art of detachment. The art of detachment is a 360 detachment. It's a spiritual coming home to oneself. It is understanding that everything you want in this life, you can and will and have had in another, and you can and will have in this one. So why are you so bogged down with the miscellaneous things that we as humans in whatever society we are living in subscribe to? Unsubscribe. Detach. Go live your inner monk life. Because at the end of all the days, who cares? When you feel into the actual feeling or have actually experienced detachment of you actually detaching yourself from something, it's actually not a great feeling. It's actually quite sad from my point of view. And I've done it a number of times and I get amazing results from it. Like, yeah, but I know each time I do it is each time I lose the passion for whatever it is. I lose the desire for whatever it is. I lose the heart. The light that initially attracted me to whatever that experience, that person, that creative project, that work, that practice, it's lost gradually, slowly, every time I detach. And I'm back into the truth place that you can get whatever you want, but can you only get it because you detached? Can you only get it because you're emotionless? And the answer to that is yes and no. The art of detachment is a powerful practice for any manifestation cycle you're in, right? You have to have a level of detachment. Once you state your desire and state what you want, you have to have a level of detachment. But you still have to pour into, feed the same passion, the same inner knowing that was bold enough to initially state and decide upon the desire. You can't let the art of detachment shave off and blow out that deep inner spark, because it will. I've noticed in my own life it has. But if you continue to look at the art of detachment as a requirement for you to get something, and so you just have to do it, versus looking at the art of detachment of where in these interactions have I placed too much care, too much expectations, too high of a threshold for others to literally just be too comfortable, too triggered, too emotional about what I want and what I know I can do. Because the same people who are very emotional enough to be hangry and do all these things are the same emotional people who are loud enough to run companies, loud enough to be sometimes one of the wealthiest people in the world. Brute, honest, blunt. Because they say what they mean and they mean when they say. So when someone of that nature, in all their very triggered, happy selves, tell you to your face, as calm as they can, that you're actually good, you're actually great, that you actually made progress, take it for a real compliment. And then review what was the thing that has changed in the past couple days, in the last couple months, in the last couple years, that now I get these compliments from this type of people that before I was not. Before I was walking on eggshells. Before I was, oh, you know what changed? You detached. And through your detachment, you showed up a little more rough around the edges, a little bit more brash, a little bit more stomping on toes and blazing through, not gently apprehensive. You meant what you said, and you did it. You showed up, you did what you needed to do, and you left. I don't want you to feel like you're shaving away your passion, your personal ignition for something because now you have detached. I want you to be hyper aware of it now. I want you to understand that, what are other situations that maybe I need to bring up this more darker tone, this more blunt, honest, uncouth, not mommy dearest attitude to things to get the results, to get the manifestations, to detach faster, to come to the desire that I want faster, more effectively. How can I do that in other areas of my life? How can I apply the same, I'm not asking questions, nor am I asking an opinion type of attitude to other areas of my life to get what I want? Not what other people who are loud and untriggered and haven't looked in a mirror in the last 6 months are going to tell me about what I should deserve, what I should ask for, what I should expect. Because everyone else's expectations of you will be so much lower than the expectations you have for yourself. People are addicted to seeing other people fail so that when they fail, it makes it more comfortable for them. People don't like seeing winners. But when you assume the air of detachment, when you assume an air of, I don't really have to be here, I don't care to be here, I'm just going to show up and do my thing and get out, people respect decisiveness more. People respect someone who is decisive and confident more. Why does everyone say, we want confidence, we just want to make sure you're confident. And when you play nice, when you play timid, they're not sure that you are confident. Because they don't actually know what confidence is. Confidence is doing something in a repeated amount of time that you exude an air about you that you know. It's an air of self-mastery, an air of self-assurance, right? Some people are confident, loud, and wrong. But you didn't even know they were wrong because you're so enamored by their confidence about it. It's the air of self-appointed mastery. But since many people don't know how to actually gain confidence, they're expecting confidence out of you, and they are prejudging your niceness, your kindness, your team player attitude for lack of confidence. Because as many times as people say, oh, we want healthy people, I want health, I want someone who's stable. No, people are addicted to drama, toxicity, and crash outs. That's what sells. And since you're not dramatic, since you're not toxic, and since you haven't crashed out, people want to poke the bear. People want to poke the bear inside of you. But instead, you show up detached, decisive, confident. They're like, oh, you did rise to the occasion. You did commit. Oh, you can do it. Because they doubted you. Because you were quiet. You were succinct. You very much stood your ground. But I want you to open your eyes to the mental games that people like to play with you. The mental balling of expectations and standards and what they expect and what they want and all this stuff. Like, who cares? Who cares? You hear me? Who cares? The point is that you showed up and they're surprised. Because you don't care anymore. And I don't want your lack of caring for their BS to trample down on you actually not caring about what your soul passion has told you to do. Emotional people who get triggered easily and scream at the mountaintops, we got plenty of them on this earth. I want you to not normalize their presence in your life. I want you to be super normalized to their ways of being in your life. How whatever they throw in your way, they can't actually mess you up from your self-appointed trajectory. That is your actual confidence. You can jump through whatever rings of fire and, swim with alligators and get bitten by 20 snakes at the end of it. For their entertainment, for them to say, oh, well, maybe she's tough. Maybe she got it. Of course you got it. I'm here to remind you that I never doubted that you got it. And I don't want you to start doubting yourself that you ever didn't have it. You're born to do whatever it is you're doing. You were born to do this. Be great at it. And you were also born to manifest past it to the next stage. So when you've actually lived out whatever experience, whatever job, title, whatever educational background, whatever love experiences, whatever you want to live out, as hard as it is, as detached as you've become, just know at the end of the road, at the end of that yellow brick road, you can say, I did it for myself, and I'm actually very happy that I did it. As tough, as annoying, as frustrating, and as borderline disrespectful as the whole thing was, from other people's setting their expectations of me onto my self-appointed trajectory, I'm happy I did it. I'm happy I showed resilience. I'm happy I became detached to their expectations and became fully invested in my direction. What else can I do? What else do I want to do? How else do I want to live this life? That's your next frontier.